Hi, and welcome to the Agri-Food Pioneers. We're here to give a voice to companies in the agriculture and food industries, making a real difference to the environment. And today I'm joined by Luke Landers, who is currently championing all things people and planet at Naked Wines. Welcome, Luke, and thanks for joining us.
No problem, Nigel. Thanks for having me. Pleased to be here.
No worries, no worries. Well, first of all, I am a customer of Naked Wines, and I got one of your emails through talking about all the sustainable activity you guys are up to, which piqued my interest and made me think you'd be a good fit for the channel. So, yeah, here you are. And so, first of all, can you tell us a bit about Naked Wines and your position within the company?
Yeah, sure. So, Naked Wines is an online wine retailer. And our mission is to join up our everyday wine drinkers with independent winemakers. And the key thing that's different about Naked is that we work directly with the winemaker. So there's no middleman. And the idea behind that is that we can give great value, great wines to customers at a great price, but also pay the winemakers a fair price. And because we're collaborating quite closely, it's really good for sustainability too. So it's that's kind of who and what Naked is. And in terms of my role, as you've touched on, it's pretty broad. People and planet means lots of things. So there's things like carbon footprint, packaging, looking at our supply chain, how we're treating people in the supply chain, and all manner of other kind of green things.
Great. It sounds like just a great, fantastic role. I think I'd love that job. Just so looking at the principles of how a company works, and then going, how can we improve that? How can we minimize the impact of everything we do?
Yeah, it's really great. And so I've been at Naked about a year and a half, and it's fantastic to be somewhere that is so forward thinking and kind of willing to challenge itself for saying, like, is this the best thing? Could we do better? How do we make it happen? And like I say, it's that day-to-day relationship we have with the winemakers is great. Their shipping, for example. There'll be other times where I'll talk to someone in America about their wine bottles, and it's very, very varied and exciting.
Yeah, that does sound great. So, what are your big challenges? Is it changing how the growers are working in terms of improving their carbon emissions? Is it the logistics? Is it the packaging? What are the big challenges, and what are you trying to tackle first?
So if we kind of look at it through the lens of kind of carbon, then packaging is kind of one of the big areas where we know it's emissions intensive, but we also know it's something that we can take action on pretty quickly. So if we can cut the weight of glass bottles or use glass bottles with a higher recycled content, then we'll cut carbon. And ultimately, for customers like yourselves, the wine is no different. So it's kind of win-win. You get the same great product, but it gets to you in a less carbon intensive way. And that's not to say that, things aren't happening across the supply chain. So all the way through from kind of grape to glass, there are initiatives happening doing less tractor passes, for example, in the vineyard. So they're using less fuel, less chemicals. They're already looking at how they can manage their water consumption. Some of these areas that people are growing wines in have very limited water. So it's about looking at that. Winemakers are generating their own energy, so they're kind of self-sufficient in that sense through solar panels or whatnot. And also lots of those guys are also using local suppliers, which again is really cool. So it's a case of they're able to source materials from very locally, give jobs to local people. So that's all great. And then there's things like when you move into the shipping world, a lot of the large kind of shippers are trying to make actions and have got commitments to cut carbon and kind of do the right thing. And that all feeds into this kind of big mesh that I guess is the wine industry. And I think it's pleasing that there is so much happening. That's not to say it's all done, and there's a big journey to go. But yeah, it's definitely lots happening at once.
Great. So how much influence does Naked have in terms of changing a lot of these things? They sound like it's I don't know. It must be tough. Is it about choosing the right company to handle the logistics, or is it about choosing the right growers who are doing the right things, or can you actually influence these things yourselves?
Yeah, it's a bit of a blend, really. So, Naked want to work with winemakers that produce great wines, but also we want to work with winemakers that understand the Naked model and the ethos of that. So, at Naked Wines, customers can give direct feedback to the winemaker, and we want our winemakers to engage with our customers, learn from that feedback, discuss that feedback, and kind of develop their next vintage with that in mind. So we're kind of almost wanting winemakers with that growth mindset, which in turn means that when we talk to them about sustainability and the opportunities that it kind of brings about, generally they are more kind of susceptible to that. From that sense, it's definitely about the collaboration and, how can we work together to improve things. And then other parts is, you're right, it is about picking the right suppliers and saying, okay, well, does supplier X have a net zero commitment? Yes or no? Does supplier B have that? And kind of looking at all of their different credentials and their willingness to kind of come with us on this journey, because again, we know we're not perfect and we know most of the suppliers won't be perfect, but it's about trying to work out the ones that we can all move together forwards with.
So trying to find that right blend. Okay, well, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching that would love to buy wine that is more sustainable and has less of a carbon impact. So what can the viewers do to actually choose more wisely?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, it's kind of just trying to be mindful of it when you're in the supermarket shelves or the virtual shelves. When you are looking around, things on wine labels can tell you things about their independent certifications and kind of credentials. So for example, if a winery was made in a B Corp, was B Corp certified, that would know. If they're organic certified or biodynamic, all of those kind of independent certifications give a bit of a nod to that this wine has been produced in a more considerate way. So whether it's to do with the social element, the environmental element, you can kind of have confidence that someone independent has looked at the processes and procedures in place and kind of going, yes, this is pushing things forward. And those certifications require continual improvement as well. So you can kind of feel good knowing that they won't have just stopped at that point. They'll continue to push the standards forward. So one thing I'd say, look at the labels and look out for sustainability certifications. And I think the other thing for me is about giving other alternative forms of packaging a chance. And I know it can be hard because we're very used to seeing wine in a glass bottle, right? That's the format that we're used to. And traditionally, some people may have had boxed wines or canned wines or kind of other format of wines that they view as kind of cheap and nasty and not that good. But actually, the wine inside can be just as good. And it's about saying, actually, other packaging formats can be lower in carbon. They can be easier to recycle. It's about just giving those a chance and saying, actually, I'm not going to be held to a heavy glass bottle. Maybe it's I move to a lighter glass bottle. It's just kind of looking out for those things. That's kind of my key tips. I mean, if you happen to be a Naked Angel, we've introduced something called the Green Grape logo, which has kind of tried to kind of take out this legwork that you kind of mentioned. So it's all about trying to highlight which of our wines we think are more sustainable across this kind of grape to glass. So we've looked at what happens in the vineyard, the winery, transport, packaging, socially. So we've tried to look at this kind of realm of information and say, okay, look, we think these guys are doing the best in class, so therefore we think they are more green. And that's a way to shop. But again, if you're shopping more broadly, I'd look out for different types of packaging. I'd look out for those certifications.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm interested in this packaging thing because obviously glass has certain benefits in terms of it can protect the wine, but surely lots of other packaging can do the same thing. So now we're down to tradition and sort of what the glass bottle represents to the buyer, like a celebration, a pop of the cork, all that stuff, which I love. But equally, if it's just those things, you'd think the vast majority of wine could change their packaging. So what are we looking at? I mean, the box, I've bought boxes of wine from you guys and the quality has not been different, assuming I still aerate it like I would a normal bottle, but like I've had some excellent wines in boxes from you guys. So why is there any more of that coming down the road? Is there anything apart from the lighter bottles? Is there any kind of new packaging ideas like Tetra Paks or?
So kind of on the continent in Europe, Tetra Paks and wine in a Tetra Pak is a more done thing. In the UK, it's not as frequent, and I think a couple of companies have kind of dabbled in it, and I think that may grow again because of those benefits. Other kind of interesting formats. So there are kind of wine bottles that the exterior is made from recycled paper and kind of recycled paper card, and then the inner is a plastic kind of pouch, and you can separate them out so they're easier to recycle. So that's quite interesting because they're very light. They've got exactly the same shape as a bottle, but because it's the outer is card, you can actually do like 360 degrees of like marketing or a really cool label. So that's really like eye catching when you see it.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's a really cool thing to look at as well.
Yeah. Would you say Naked has the ability to influence I don't know how it works. I know all of your packaging is branded with Naked. I mean, so it's obviously you're branding that somewhere, whether it's where the wine's grown and made or whether it's over here, I don't know. But like, could you have more influence in terms of what the wine is being put into? So could you say we don't want it
Absolutely.
in glass anymore? You can.
Yeah.
Right.
So, for example, like we've made a shift to try and make a lot of our glass bottles lighter, and that all happens through a dialogue with the winemaker. So we'll look at the data and we'll kind of say, okay, well, we think these wines are heavier than they perhaps need to be. Let's have a conversation. And that, many times I've had conversations over the last year with winemakers saying, like, could we explore going lighter? Can you get the glass? Can you get the glass initially? Would that work? And then also there's things like if there's any nervousness around it, because traditionally a heavy bottle has been seen to be high quality. Yeah. And actually, because we've got customer ratings, we can actually say, well, no, look, we've moved these wines to a lighter bottle and the ratings have not shifted at all. People do not mind that it's in a lighter bottle because the glass is, because the wine inside is exactly the same. Yeah. And it would be very similar with, I'm using the example of lighter bottles, but going back to your point of could it be other packaging? That absolutely could be the case. I think when it comes to other packaging, there are other concerns about kind of like making sure the quality is still tip top. But again, I feel like that isn't unsurmountable. And it's about having having that dialogue and saying to the winemaker, look, could we make this work? Here's how much we think we'd need to make it work. Can you make that work? Cool, right. We think our customers will buy it. I mean, we do a lot of like customer votes too. So more recently we did a vote about a topless wine. And so basically this was about saying when there's a cork around the top and there's normally some plastic or aluminium around the top, does it actually need that covering? And the answer is no, it's just tradition. And we just said to our customers, like, what do you think? Would you buy more topless wine is what we were calling it. So then you can actually see the cork, and they were like, they voted massively in favor of it. So we can then again take that to our winemakers and say, look, we've asked the people that buy your guys' wine, they love it. We can talk about it in the right ways and say, actually, you know what? Again, there's no detriment to what it is that you're drinking. So yeah, it's really powerful.
That's great. Well, I, for one, would vote for a whole range of Naked wines in like Naked specific packaging. So like like you said, like the small pouch and the cardboard, you could really brand the hell out of that as Naked, and you could have a whole part of the website going, if you want to buy your wine in an ecologically sound way, then this is the list of stuff we do. And I'd be all over that. I think that sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah, I mean, other cool ideas that are like that, and this is probably would be many years away, but like the idea could be that a Naked wine could come in a Naked wine glass mold. So for example, it would be its own lighter bottle. Every wine could be standardized. And if you start going down a standardization route, you can potentially look at wine returns and actually kind of creating a full circle of saying, actually, well, we'll deliver you a glass bottle or a wine bottle. You drink it, you return the glass bottle to us, we'll refill it again, and it goes round. And like that's obviously quite a bit more complex when we've got such a range of wines. But in theory, if a lot of things in the system change, that could become very possible.
All right, that is interesting. I had a dairy farmer who was the first sustainable dairy farm, a carbon negative actually in the UK was his claim.
Okay.
And he talked about I was talking to him about glass bottles for his milk, but he didn't use them. He used these very specific Tetra Paks. And his argument was there's still these Tetra Paks were completely compostable, so he was getting them back and putting them back into the food cycle. He said cleaning the glass bottles and the breakages, they don't last forever. These were his kind of arguments as to why he didn't want to use glass anymore. Anyway, I thought that was relevant and might be interesting.
Yeah, that is. And if you start looking at, because obviously shipping things in glass, you then have to make sure that the box it's in is sufficiently sturdy to protect it. Because ultimately, you don't want to invest all this time and resources and environmental and natural resources into making a product that never makes it to its end destination, right? So because you could end up wasting everything then. So it's that fine balance of trying to, you don't want a stupidly heavy cardboard box to protect things in, but it needs to be sufficiently robust so that everything gets there in one piece.
Yeah, I reckon we've solved the problem here. Just everyone needs to get their head around drinking like not inexpensive, but anything that's below like, I don't know, 30 quid. Just let's all get used to drinking it out of something that isn't glass. And then for the really special occasions, you can still pop that cork and you can get out your that's I think that's surely the future. Anyway. That's just my crazy opinion. Let's get back to Naked and the real reason, the email that I got from you guys was that about you winning the Green Champion of the Year award by Decanter. What is that, and how did you win?
So, well, first and foremost, we are super pleased to have won. Like, for us, it's a real badge of honor. So Decanter are kind of wine and lifestyle kind of online magazine, and they're really well respected. So for us to kind of even be shortlisted was a real win. And then to actually end up winning was really fantastic. And I think it's testament to a lot of the hard work of our winemakers, our angels supporting us in doing these green things, and also the broader Naked team. A lot of people have been involved in all of these projects. So yeah, it's really great. We're kind of, in terms of, I guess, why we won, I think it's a mixture of kind of the range of ambitions that we've got moving forward, but also the range of projects we've developed so far. So whether it's within our offices, within the warehouse, within the work we're doing with winemakers, I think it was broadly speaking about us trying to push each of those areas forward and make those kind of incremental wins. It's, we're focused on sustainability and want to do it because it's the right thing. So for us winning the award, it's a really nice pat on the back to know we're doing the right things. I mean, it absolutely doesn't mean that we stop here. But for me, it was kind of like, okay, this is reaffirming that we are headed in the right direction. Some people have looked at what we're doing and where we plan to go and kind of said, you know what, this is commendable. So yeah, it's incredibly chuffed with it.
You should be. I'm well impressed, and it must have been great for you in your role to. It just shows that you're doing well and you're making the right kind of changes. So congratulations, Luke. That's a huge achievement.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that.
Okay, well, we're running out of time now. So what little tradition of the channel is that we always ask the guests how our viewers can help you on your sort of journey to accelerate the sustainable nature of what you do. So how can we help?
Broadly speaking, within the wine industry, I think it's about just trying to make those more sustainable choices and being brave with it. So, because ultimately, if more of us are more open to buying more sustainable wines or wine in different packaging, or kind of almost breaking some of the traditions that are just traditions for tradition's sake, that will help drive the industry forward. So it will help Naked because we'll have confidence that more people will be content in buying those formats. But also, it will help everyone else in the industry. So that'd be great. I mean, from a Naked perspective, if you want to become a Naked Angel and become a customer, that would be great. And then also start shopping using the Green Grape logo, because again, that sends that signal that people care about the environment, they care about sustainability, they care about the social elements. And therefore, there's a clear direction for us to say, okay, look, we can show that data to winemakers and say, look, there's a real business case here for this. We think it's the right thing to do. If you're worried about the cost of investing in any of this technology or whatever, then don't be, because actually the desire is there. And importantly, if we don't do this, we'll be left behind. This is, everyone needs to take action. And, if it means that we can all have a glass of wine feeling a bit less guilty, then perhaps that's a good thing, right?
Right.
It's all about small changes. So if we each enjoy a glass of wine, then maybe we think about where that wine came from or whatever. So that's my very broad ask, I guess I'd say.
It was broad. It's just, I feel like it's a bit like chicken and the egg type situation. I feel like if Naked were to produce a range of wine in different packaging, I can't imagine people wouldn't buy it, with improved green credentials. And I know you do boxes and stuff, but there's more that the wine industry can actually offer.
Absolutely.
And I reckon I think you might be. I think the wine industry might be surprised. I, for one, wouldn't mind. But I guess we'll see. But anyway, Lou, well done again on winning Green Champion of the Year. And I personally, as a Naked Wines customer, I couldn't recommend them any higher. I think it's a wonderful company with a great ethos. So thanks a lot for joining us, Lou.
No, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. It's been great to talk about kind of wine and naked. So yeah, really pleased.
Thank you. So subscribe now and click the bell so you're notified when we speak to more pioneers of the agri-food industry that are leading the way to a sustainable, low carbon and regenerative future. Are you an agri-food pioneer? Get in touch now to arrange your interview.